propagator. I hope you like my video. I love to share information on orchid therapy. They come with me to learn about growing orchid seed. I go for big, beautiful, ruby, fragrant blooms.
Jeez. So what do you think about that intro? I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. So that is a intro video that I use for my members videos, and it's a new one, so I decided to share it with everyone. So I do have members, a different section of my channel that is dedicated for members. So for members, you get some additional information about me, about my plants, about the hybrids that I'm generating. I do lab videos and then whole plant videos, seedling videos, that type of thing that's exclusive to members. If you're interested in becoming a member, there is a small fee associated with it. So I think it's $2.99 a month. But you can click on join a members section of my video and join, and you can quit at any time. You can see what's there, quit at any time. Again, there's some additional information that I have in my members video, and I included it today because there's a new song and lyrics associated with this the intro of my members videos that I want to share with everyone. My son is visiting me this week, and he has listened to the previous lyrics and audio that I include. He says, "You got to put something new on there, Dad." It's just, and it is silly, but it's fun to do. So he's visiting me this week. So yesterday, he just sat on his phone, and I gave him some lyrics, and we put a new video, a new intro video together. Which was kind of fun to do. All right, let me get to the material that I wanted to share with you today. So today what I wanted to share with you is kind of an explanation of what you get from clones and what you get from seedlings of orchids. And they're different, and because of the genetics of the situation, they're very different. I think clone is the easiest to understand. So cloning, that's my background. My background's in tissue culture and in plant cloning, DNA cloning as well, but it's plant cloning. And what happens, what cloning means is to make an exact copy. So when plants are cloned, exact copies are made. Occasionally there's screw-ups in the genetics of these copies, but for the most part, they're identical genetic matches. So you get clones, and you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to get the same thing between the different clones. And what I have is examples of some clones that are in front of me. I have some examples of seedlings that I'd like to share, and hopefully all this will become more clear. When you buy a plant that is a clone, it will, in many cases, you'll see the clone name will be in single quotes at the end here. And this is a clone right here of Nell Hammer, but it's a specific cultivar. And so that's what the thing is in the single quotes at the end of the tag. So this is RTH, Nell Hammer, and the cultivar, again, single quotes, is Golden Lady. And so this is something that was, I think, I'm not sure if it was registered or the clone was made by RF Orchids in Homestead, Florida. And what you can count on with this clone, and what happens when they do cloning, there's different ways to do this. So you can clone by just dividing a plant, and I'll show you what that's like. But there's also cloning that is done in the laboratory. Again, that's the kind of cloning that I used to do. And for that type of cloning, what's done is the new growths are pulled off of the plants, sent to a laboratory, and those little tiny new eyes that give rise to these new pseudobulbs are pulled out, cloned, put on a medium that contains growth regulators that causes those tissues to proliferate. So you have a multiplication or proliferation of these organized growing points, meristems, and that generates a large number of clones in the laboratory. You can also use, in the laboratory, use a liquid medium where the clone material is being bathed in liquid, and you get very rapid growth like that. It does take a while to clone and then generate the plants from that and have those for sale. But what you can do is take, this was a plant that I think was identified because normally with Nell hammer, it's mostly just kind of a yellow color with some flaring. This one happened to have a little bit of purple in the lip, and apparently that caught their eye, and it won an award, and they cloned it. So you can get cloned plants that are based on winning an award. You can also get cloned plants from some of the growers that just like the plant that they've generated from the group of seedlings, and then they clone that plant and they can name it. So it either can be awarded or it can be named by a grower who wants to clone a very nice plant or something that is special or different. And the reason I kind of held up there and said clone a nice plant is because of the Nell hammers that I've seen. I bought this. I don't like this that much. The flower, the flaring in the flower isn't as striking as what I've seen from some of the other seedlings. So again, what happens is you have a number of seedlings that are made from a cross, and then something is exceptional, something turns out, something sparks, you know, an interest in cloning a plant, and then that plant is cloned. So when you clone a plant, and so all of the Nell hammers of this clone are going to look exactly the same, and so what happens is when you buy this, you're pretty much guaranteed. A little warm. It is, I forgot to mention, it is 88 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is 30 degrees Celsius. I don't even know what the heat index is, but it's toasty. All right, so this is again, this is a clone. This is I don't really like, but it's guaranteed. You know what you're going to get, okay? This is also a clone, and this is a clone that was made by, this is Redland Sunset, and the cultivar, in single quotes at the end of the name, is Palmer Orchids. So as you might imagine, this is a clone that was made by Palmer Orchids. This is a really nice, vigorous plant that has some nice flowers. It is, and it's growing. I repotted this. It's growing. It's a really nice, vigorous grower. So that's the other thing, is that when you have these plants, a lot of times, sometimes the plants that are cloned, they have a unique flower, but they may not be as proliferative. They may not grow as nice under certain conditions, but they have a special flower. I like to pick flowers. If I had a choice, I like to pick flowers that are really proliferative, that really grow rapidly and have a nice flower. And again, one of the examples of that I have that I need to share with you is this is Hawaiian Prominence. This is, and then the cultivar on this, so single quotes at the end of the name, is America. So this is Hawaiian Prominence America. And I show this to you. I've recommended this before. If you don't have it in your collection, get it in your collection. This is a great cattleya, vigorous, rapidly growing plant. The flowers stay for a lot. This is a capsule on this plant that was from a flower that bloomed 2 months ago, and then these are two newer flowers. And as I was bringing this over here, this is not where this plant lives, but as I was bringing this over here, you can still smell the fragrance. These two flowers have been open, I think, for a month, maybe 5 weeks. a little bit more. I don't keep notes on exactly when everything is open. But this is a really nice plant. And then also on this plant, it's actually producing a new pseudobulb. So even though there's a flower and there's a seed capsule on it, it's just a really good, vigorous plant. But you can get these Hawaiian Prominence America are still available in many of the growers that I've seen. But when you buy Hawaiian Prominence America, you're guaranteed to get this exact plant. What happens over time, if it's overcloned, you occasionally get some variations of that. But from what I've seen and from what I've had, this is these clones of Hawaiian Prominence America are really wonderful. They're really great. Okay, so and these are all clones. How else do you get a clone? So you can take a plant that's big, a plant like this that is growing over the edge of the pot, that has the roots growing over the edge of the pot, and you can divide it. So dividing this plant, it's a low efficiency cloning, but when you divide a plant, you essentially make a clone or an exact copy of this plant. You're just dividing them. The genetics are the same. The other thing that you can do, and we're going to talk about Wu Lang here, this is Dendrobium Wu Lang. And so I have my Dendrobium Wu Lang that's right up here. The flowers are behind me. This is a really nice den. It's big. You can tell this is a cane from this Wu Lang plant right here. But the flowers are nice. They're striking. They're fragrant. It is a big grower, and it's a big plant, but it does really, really well here. So I've made a lot of copies of Wu Lang, Dendrobium Wu Lang. And this is one of the copies. So I cut the cane off, and then what happened from this is that you have a number of different keikis that are growing from this cane. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4 keikis that are growing from this cane. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this to one of my friends, and I told her what she need to do is just take this like this and just attach it to she likes to mount things, so attach it to your tree with a rubber band or multiple rubber bands, because this is so long. And then this will attach to the roots that are growing here. I said, leave it on the cane like this, because I just cut this and put this behind my shed. So just like this sitting, and the keikis just grew out. I actually have another one with only 2 keikis on it. But just, attach it to the tree like this, and you make clones, you make copies, you make exact duplicates. So from these plants that are coming out of here, you're going to get this really nice, big, white and purple, fragrant dendrobium flower. It's essentially a clone. You're going to a division, a keiki. That you're going to get that. Okay, so what's the opposite of getting clones? And what you can do is, and what I do a lot of, is I generate seedlings. So, and this is Hawaiian Prominence right here, that has a seed capsule right there. And so from the seeds, from the 250,000 to, it's a small capsule, so maybe only 500,000 seeds that are in there, you're going to get, if there's 500,000 seeds, let's say only 100,000 of them are viable. Of those 100,000 seeds and seedlings that you get, they're all going to be slightly different. They're not going to be that's how genetics works. Is you've got a pollen fuse with an egg, and then you have 100,000 unique individuals. Now, depending on how different they are, a lot of breeders, what they do is they cross flowers that look very similar, and that's smart because you can predict what the progeny plants are going to look like, what the flowers are going to look like. But I don't like doing that. I like making what are called broad crosses. So I crossed, for example, Hawaiian Prominence, I crossed with a large flared purple cattleya that doesn't have any coloration in the throat. So you're going to get a lot of variation from that and from those seedlings. Variation is good and bad. So it's bad because you can't predict exactly what the plant's going to look like. It's good because you can get some really nice vigorous plants, and you can get some really unique looking plants and flowers. Okay, so what do you get from that? So for example, I have Wulang right here. So from my Wulang, I have this plant, and this is actually what's called, it's a self of Wulang. So it self-pollinated this plant, and because of the orchid, the rules for naming orchids, that's a progeny from that is also called Wulang. But the thing is, the flowers look different. Even a self from this plant, the flowers look different. So this will have a little bit of purple blush in the petals and sepals. It's not quite open yet, but it'll be open soon. Now the thing about this, as I mentioned, this is a vigorous plant. Wulang is a vigorous plant. This Wulang purple blush is also it's a tall, I don't know if you can tell how big it is, but this is it's in a tiny pot, but it's a really tall, vigorous plant. It's got 2 canes that have 3 flower spikes on this. And these are pretty flowers. So I wrote a note on this that it is purple blush. I have a couple of them that have a little bit of blushing, a little bit of purple in the petals. And then I have some, and again on the negative side, that don't look as nice as this or as nice as Wulang itself. All right, so you'll get some variation when you generate, when you generate seedlings, you get variation. Okay, as an example of that, I have on the front of this table, and I have to hold them up so you can see them. This is one of the first crosses that I made. And so this generated, this is Julia's Smile, named after my daughter, the plant propagator Junior, whose name is Julia. So these are 2 of the seedlings from this. These have not bloomed yet, but I know, so this is Momolani Rainbow times Orange Nugget. And so they're growing nicely. This is the smallest one. It's in a 6-inch pot. This is in a 4-inch pot. I have a lot of these because it's one of the first ones that I made. But there's variation. You can see this one is a lot bigger than this, and these 2 plants have not bloomed yet. But let me put this back and show you the one plant, that has bloomed. And that's right here. So this is also Julia's Smile. And this is a seedling from this cross. This has already bloomed. It had 1 bloom spike last year with 2 flowers on it. And it was nice. It was really nice. The flowers were fragrant and they lasted a long time. So I thought, might have a good one here. But the thing is, I'm going to even pull the biggest one back up and put them side by side so you can see it. So this is the second biggest one, and this is the first biggest one. I had to repot this. So this was in a 4-inch pot when it was blooming initially. And I had to repot this, and this doubled in size. It put out 3 or 4 new pseudobulbs so far. It'll put out more. This will bloom, because of the parentage on this, these only bloom 1 time of the year. So this will probably put out, I'm looking here, it does have at least 1, it's got 1 additional pseudobulb. So it had 4 new pseudobulbs come out on this tiny plant in the short time since it bloomed, which was pretty recently. So this is a seedling from a cross that I made that has the potential to be cloned. Again, the flowers on this I think are pretty nice. They're long-lived, they're fragrant. They start out a little bit yellow, and then they go, and then they get a little bit orange because there's a lot of orange nugget in the background of this plant. And it's got just a little bit of flowering. Now, ideally, I would like a little bit more flowering in the petals of this cross, but still, this is a nice plant, and this is a seedling that's doing well that I may clone. It may be the first one. I usually don't do cloning, but this may be one of the first plants that I clone in the near future. And again, and looking at this, from the 3 new pseudobulbs that have grown, there's sheaths in the middle of each of those. So this is growing really well. This is a good vigorous seedling, and that's what I go for. I like making crosses. I like being able to look at the seedlings that I'm generating and then pick the vigorous growers to carry on. All right, so yay for the biggest Julia Smile that I think is going to be really nice. Only its second bloom. I think it's probably going to have a lot of blooms on it because it is such a vigorous grower. All right, so that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to explain to you the difference between the plants that you get from cloning and the plants that you get from seedlings. There are some growers that are known, that have a reputation for producing really high quality seedlings, but you're going to get some variability. I think what happens is those people, they get the nice seedlings, go, "Oh, look at my seedling," and the ones that get the crappy seedlings don't say, "Ooh, look at my seedlings." So I think that, again, you're going to get some variability. If you cross similar looking orchids, you're going to get similar looking seedlings. But to me, that's not as exciting as crossing some really different looking orchids and then seeing what you're going to get. For me, that's a little bit more exciting, and that's what I like to do. All right. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you didn't, you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And if you want to become a member, click the button and become a member and check out those additional member-only videos that I offer. All right, that's all I have for you today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.